This is mildly interesting and also mildly unshaved. Looking at the video of getting my GOTONOVO faucet tub system ready for installation. You may recall, last I left, I needed to do a bunch of greasing and prep work before I got it ready to go into my my shower tub. I also need to take this apart as far as possible and put sealant wherever necessary, put grease wherever necessary, and just make sure everything's ready to go in. Now I'm going to do that, and I'll show you all the little bits and funny things that I found out while I was going through it. This will be useful if you're considering buying one of these, so that you know what you're getting into. Well, I've got a shocking discovery for you. Don't know if you can see that color difference, but you see the visible part is brass colored and the inner part is not so much. So this might be a zinc cast part. So you can see how this comes apart. You just slide a fingernail underneath the cap, lift that up, unscrew the screw that's in there, take that off, and then lift up the plastic trim ring that's on there. And be careful of these two shim washers that are kind of either too big or too small. I'm not quite sure, but there's two of them in my case. You might have a different number of shim washers, but they're there. And this is where you start to see the Chinesium, basically. But I have seen on YouTube other people replacing these valves as they were leaky. And I have heard from reviewers on YouTube that the company is very fast to respond. So I am going to hope that everything goes well. Now let's explore this connection here. You just loosen this collar. And that comes out. And looky there, it's got a couple of O-rings. So let's take a look at the sealing surface that they seal against. And I don't know if you can tell, but that's not the best surface for O-rings to seal against. 'Tis unfortunate. There obviously wasn't sufficient metal to machine away enough metal to make a very, very nice surface for the O-rings. So that is a potential leak. I'm going to add some plumber's grease to those O-rings, and hopefully that'll stop any issues. Alright, so to get this handle off, very similar to the middle one, you put your fingernail under there, get this plastic piece off. It is just plastic, no fancy porcelain. There's a screw in there, you unscrew that screw, and then once it's unscrewed, pull that up and off. And then you can unscrew this, which is a plastic trim piece, and you can see the whole brass valve. Now, I'm not going to be taking any of these valves out for now and greasing them. They seem to turn all right. Just fit this on there and give it a twist. Yep, feels good. Whereas this one also feels good. Okay, so these three feel pretty good. The handles are back on, and now I want to look at the back of the faucet and look at these O-rings, or washers actually. They're just simple rubber washers, just like what you would have on a garden hose actually. I don't know if they're the same size or not, but they honestly seem pretty close. And I have noticed throughout this whole, in all the parts that I've looked at so far, I've seen two distinct sizes of rubber washer. I've been collecting them all in here. So there's these fatter ones. They're the same outer size, they're the same thickness, just the inner diameter is different. So there's a larger inner diameter and a smaller inner diameter. It seems like they've not had much of a rhyme or reason to which one goes where. I had these on one extension, I had these on an extension, I have had these on this part, I've had this on this diverter has a, yeah, there you go. So doesn't seem to be much by way of reasoning in terms of how it goes. I am going to grease these lightly and assemble them. So a couple of interesting points with the standoff from the wall. As you may recall, this piece goes against the wall, and I am going to try to orient the set screws up so that they're not visible. And then this piece connects to the thing on the riser. So to extend that distance, you can order this size, 2 inches or something like that. You can order this size, 5 inches or something like that. These ones, this one, first off, this one, the set screws are Phillips. All of the rest of them and everything else in the system, the set screws are this size of Allen or hex. Another interesting point, these have 2 holes bored in them to exactly match up with those 2 set screws. And the set screws for these things are on opposite ends, not at all clocked for any sort of hiding of visibility or anything, so not the nicest thing, and they're going to stand out, unfortunately. Hopefully I only have to use one. But another interesting thing on this one, this is definitely heavier construction than these. It's a little thicker. This doesn't have the 2 holes for those 2 set screws, nor does it have this little rubber gasket that the 2 shorter ones came with. You can see a little rubber gasket at the end there. Now, personally, I'm not too worried about that. If it's a big issue, I'll get a couple of O-rings and stick them on there. But so you can see, this comes in here with a key and a couple of set screws, and this one in fact came with an extra set screw. If I can find one more extra set screw in this whole lot, I can replace the 2 Phillips set screws on here with Allen. Anyhow, that's what I thought I'd show you. Hopefully I just have to use this one. I might have to use some combination thereof. These shorter ones are thinner, and they will represent a weak link in the chain if I have to set them into this whole recipe. Anyhow, there you go. Another item of note is on this wall mount piece. Deep inside the channel, if you can see that discolored part, there is what appears to be a casting defect or surface finish defect. The metal's a little flaky in there, and it does look like it could be a problem. I'm going to, like I said, orient that way so that's not going to get a bunch of water, and it might get humidity, so I am going to, now that I see it, I'm going to give it a daub of spray paint before I install it, and that will hopefully help. So I scraped out the stuff in there for the most part. Just did a couple of quick scratches, and this is the stuff that came out. No idea what it is. Not too happy about that. Hopefully it won't be a problem. I'm beginning to suspect that my multiple length extensions scheme here is not going to work. And here's why. These are cast of a fairly light metal. They're thinner. They ring differently. This is actually 2 pieces. This tailstock is a turned piece that seems to be brass. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a tiny solder joint between that and this pipe. If you look inside, you can see the pipe seam. So, yep, this is just painted pipe or coated pipe of some sort. And this is brass that's soldered in there. Now, that would be fine if everything lined up and I had the ability to extend it. However, take a look at this tolerance. Yeah, that's not going to be a very good fit. I know I can adjust it with these 2 things, you know, clamp that down, but in all likelihood, as these clamp down on this tailstock here, they're just going to push this apart. So let's see how it fits in here. It's a much better fit in there. It's still not perfect, as you can hear. Hopefully that's the only thing I need to do. Worst case, I'll have to do something like that. Those 2 pieces. And I'm going to try to adjust the tub position so that I don't need to use these 2 chintzy pieces. Well, that's my observation. I still think it's a good system for the price. It's not a perfect system, not at all. But then a perfect system is $1,000, and a good enough system around 300. I'm happy with that. So take a look. I hope this is mildly interesting, and I'll see you in the next video.